Hello again, you guys, it's Carly from the Poetry of Nice, and I have a different kind of video for you today in terms of we're going to talk some numbers. We're going to talk like a comparison between last year and this year essentially. So if you're new here to my channel, first of all, welcome. This is a channel all about reselling online. Essentially, I am a stay-at-home mom of 3 young boys, and while I stay at home, I also run a small business. I sell used clothing essentially, but also vintage items and vintage clothing on 3 online platforms. That's eBay, Poshmark and Etsy, all of which I will talk about in this video. And I work about 1 to 2 hours a day, and these are essentially a roundup of my numbers and how my business has done from last year, 2017, to this year, 2018. So you probably will have noticed from my title at this point that it didn't really go to plan. I don't really know how else to say it, at least as of right now in terms of gross profit. So I'm actually going to give you some numbers today, because on this channel I'm all about like being a straight shooter, and you need to know the numbers. At least I think you do. If you've been watching along for a while, you'll see that I talk about how much I spend on inventory. I don't care to tell you that. I talk about what I sell items for, and I give you, from the whole videos to the sales updates and things like that, so you can see what's actually moving in my store for me, and at what kind of profit margin, hopefully. So let's talk the big numbers, the sort of year to year growth or lack thereof, as it were. So 2017, let's go back a bit. 2017 was the first year that I really started getting into reselling properly. And then when I say properly, I mean that in terms of taking it seriously as a business, filing, getting ready to file my LLC, get an accountant and some advice to do with that. All these different things started falling into place in 2017, and I started sourcing regularly. That was at least once a week, if not more. And I also started getting into primarily clothing. So I did a lot of hard goods still in 2017. Etsy was still working pretty well for me as a secondary income source, eBay being the primary one for me, and that still stands. But I did a lot more to do with like selling vintage eyeglasses, vintage coffee mugs, vintage just like trinkets and board games and bits and pieces like that. However, something had to change, and I was running out of storage space. We live in a cozy little home with the 5 of us, and the garage is my inventory space. If you're interested to see how I deal with that, go ahead and watch my inventory tour video as well. I'll link it down below, and you'll see how I was keeping things way back then in 2017, and I'll do a new one soon actually, and just show you how that has changed with me moving to clothing. However, back to the point. So something had to give, and that was going to be the type of stuff that I was buying, the amount that I was buying it for, in terms of like abundance, and also how much I was spending and where I was going to be able to source. So I have found that going to rummage sales and like church rummage sales, things like that, over things like yard sales has been way more beneficial to me. That is because I can get a large amount of inventory, primarily clothing, in one place for a very low cost of goods. That's my experience. A lot of filler bag, and then just generally low prices and stuff like that. I sell across a wide range. I am thrilled when I find high-end items, and I have watched enough YouTube and done enough just blind searches on Poshmark and eBay to find what kind of brands are moving and stuff at this point to really start to recognize some of those higher end brands. However, that's not always here, so I also enjoy selling things like vintage college or collegiate sports teams, sweaters and hats. I sell like loads of ugly Christmas sweaters. I sell a lot of like vintage overalls. These are all things that I just tend to find a dime a dozen here where I live, and I get them, like I said, super cheap. And I can get it all sort of in one trip, as it were, rather than having to go thrifting like 2, 3, 4 times a week. I do it all in one day. So for me, sourcing usually takes place on a Saturday morning. That is because, like I said, I'm a stay-at-home parent of 3 young boys, none of which are at school age yet, so I am home the majority of the time, and when I'm not, it's not feasible to be going around thrift stores or estate sales or anything like that with them in tow. It's just not going to happen. Nope. So I consolidate essentially. I go out on a Saturday morning, I hit up primarily, like I said, the rummage sales. My secondary thing is going to be yard sales and then estate sales, and after that thrift stores or a 2-hour drive to the bins in Asheville, like the Goodwill outlet, is going to be my like backup. Now that we're in winter, I have no death pile right now, and so I don't have any rummage sales. That's all seasonal here. I don't have any yard sales. Estate sales are really hit or miss. I have one rummage sale that happens once a month, and I'm praying that it's happening in December, because my goodness, do I need to find some inventory. But that my cost of goods just goes up. There's no other way to say it. I gotta buy from thrift stores. I'm starting to buy a little bit online. So if that sounds interesting to you, like sourcing from home online and having it delivered, go ahead and hit subscribe. You're probably gonna wanna see the unboxing video that I'm doing soon. But yeah, you just needs must. So summer, cost of goods is low, everything's in abundance. I listed all of that. I did not have enough to prepare for the winter season, so now my cost of goods has gone up. That is the first thing that I will be consciously changing moving into 2019. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk proper numbers. So like I said, 2017 was eBay and Etsy. So I got my little pad of paper here, so bear with me looking down, but my gross sales. Now bear in mind, this is not my take home. This is before cost of goods, before fees to the platform, before paying my taxes to the IRS. All of those things have to come out of this number, but this is my gross number. Bear in mind, this is, like I said, 1 to 2 hours a day, part-time. And my cost of goods is pretty low, bear that in mind too. So my gross on eBay for 2017 from 1st of January to the 31st of December was $25,823.57. On Etsy for 2017, it was $8,929.70. So obviously substantially less for Etsy. However, yay for an extra $9,000 gross. Like, I'm not going to complain about that. And especially because all that stuff is cross-posted. It's not like there's fresh listings for each one. I just take the listing from eBay and I pop it on over to Etsy when it applies, and now in 2018, which I'm about to talk about, I pop it on over to Poshmark. Okay, so that put my gross sales for 2017 in total, reselling online, $34,753.27. Yay for the first year of, really trying part-time. That's cool. All right, so now let's move on to this year. So 2018, a few things have changed. Etsy died a death for me. I have mentioned it on a lot of sales videos, and you will have noticed that my previous sale videos, especially from a year or so ago, would heavily feature Etsy. There would be so much to show you guys, and I would have a lot of things that I would just sell repeatedly. Vintage eyeglasses was one of them. Certain kinds of board games, like there would be certain things like vintage backgammon sets that I would find, and I'd fight tooth and nail for them, because those things were $40 for me within a week every single time. And now I barely have the motivation to list them. Like, it is just so quiet for me on Etsy right now. And it has been for a long while. So here, I'm going to directly compare my 2017 numbers for Etsy with 2018. Are you ready for this? And bear in mind, this is November 26th, so, I have a month of the year left, but I don't think a miracle's going to happen, so bear with me. So, like I said, 2017 was just short of 9,000 on Etsy. 2018 on Etsy, I've done $2,442.85 gross. That is not good. That's like, oh my goodness, that's like a 75% drop. That's insane. So that's where I'm gonna sort of charge forward and say Poshmark has come into play. So I tried Poshmark previously a little bit, like way back, and couldn't really get the hang of it. I felt like it was a lot of work, all the sharing and stuff. I just abandoned it pretty much right at the beginning. Well, come April, I decided that something has to happen. Etsy obviously was not going to pull its weight. So late April, I went ahead and like revisited my Posh shop, and then I started, Posh closet, I'm sorry, and started cross-posting things over from eBay. So pretty much started from scratch. I think I had 2 sales previously on my closet from like way back, like I said, but basically there was almost no followers, no listings, you know, it was pretty much starting from scratch. And I kind of documented this on this channel, just showing how my sales have gone, how they've grown, the type of things that I've been able to sell, and what kind of time frame it has taken for me to sell those things. So again, if you're interested, hit subscribe and check out like my playlist and stuff for sales updates and haul videos, and you'll see the kind of stuff that I'm moving in my Poshmark closet like right now. So far in Posh, and this is from my very first sale this go around or whatever, was on April 30th. So end of April, beginning of June situation. Up until now, November, I have grossed $5,183 on Poshmark, which I'm very happy with considering it is a secondary platform, and I am still trying to get, you know, the buildup of followers. I think I'm at 27,000 now, and that's just organic. That's me reached Posh Ambassador and then pretty much just left it alone. I have to say I don't do too much on Posh other than self shares and shares of, like, if I see somebody has shared a whole load of stuff in my closet, of course I will go in and share some of their items. Fair is fair. And I have one person, hey Jen, if you're watching this, who's like my PFF on there, and we just share each other's stuff every single day. We've gotten the habit of it now. She's literally part of my morning routine with my cup of coffee, and she has an awesome closet. I'm going to put her closet name down there in case you ever want to check it out, because if you want to see how somebody does a great job, like with photos within like small spaces and things like that, she is definitely someone you're going to want to watch. It's Brazil Jen, but I'm going to put her link down below because it's well worth a look just to see what all she's doing there. Anyway, I digress. So I'm happy enough with that with Posh, and I've sold 297 items this year, like since end of April, beginning of June on Poshmark. Etsy, in the last 11 months, I've sold 104 items. And I had built a following and likes and favorites, and it was going well. So I don't know if anyone can speak into the Etsy thing or has any advice. Did you turn it around? Did you change anything? Let me know. But I hold my hands up and say I don't know what's going on with Etsy right now, specifically for my store. Anyway, and eBay so far for 2018 has been $22,389.71. So eBay's kind of like creeping up on what it did the last year for me. I don't think I'm quite going to make it. This is where my title comes in. I'm not going to make it. I mean, unless a miracle happens and I start cashing out $1,000 a week, which I generally net, like as in move to my bank account every single week, somewhere between $350 to $500. That is my average. It's usually about like $425, something like that, but that's kind of like my spectrum of consistency. It's been very consistent for me for the last 6 months or so, if not a little bit longer, but it's become frustrating. I have plateaued. I have plateaued for sure, and I need to figure this out. And there's no point me sitting here and telling you all these things I sell and this and that, and you know, pretending to be something I'm not. I realize that something is going on with my business, and I need to kind of find a way to push through this wall. So I will say this: my average sales price in 2017 was $15, and at the moment in November, it ranges a little bit just depending on what month you're looking at, but it's between $18 and $21 average sale price. So I have brought that up, and that's good. And I have brought my summertime cost of goods down. It was around $1.50, like $1.50 in 2017, and it's closer to $1 just flat now in 2018, and that's because I have been doing so many more rummage sales and filler bags and things like that where the cost of goods is just fantastic. So there's some things definitely developing there, things that really need to have some more attention, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about the why. Why has my business not grown this year? I had 12 months, I have more knowledge than I did last year, at least I like to think so. I have a brand new platform to spread my wings on. We all know Etsy, it's in the toilet for me right now, but Poshmark definitely isn't. And I know there was a little, you know, there's the first 4 full months of the year that Poshmark was not being utilized. I would like to think I would have pulled several more grand out of those months had I been there working on it. But there's more to it than that. So why? Why has it not grown this year? Okay, so the first thing that I think is a major thing is I've spent less time sourcing. So I told you that I source on Saturdays pretty much. Well, I've kind of been messing around with that a little bit, so I've been cutting it short to have a little bit more family time. And one major difference in our household is we have a toddler now, whereas last year, well, he was born last August, so you know he didn't do a whole lot of much up until then. But then after that, you know, he pretty much just blinked at me from a bouncy chair while I worked and stuff, or he just kind of like hung out with me. You know, if we went out sourcing and stuff, he would sleep in the car. It wasn't a big deal, and the two older kids could be fairly entertained. Well, now he's up and about. He doesn't love car rides. It's not something that our family always wants to do on a Saturday morning, and we do go out together because this is precious time for our family to spend together. So the boys will help me at yard sales or help me at church rummage sales. Plenty of times I get out by myself just to kind of like laser focus and get the job done, but it definitely has been diluted a little bit over this year. And I think that's something that I could improve upon, like really carving out this time has to be for work. This is a clock in time. And I know that also requires my husband, who works 5 days a week at a job that is definitely mentally demanding, to be okay with like signing me off with going out on Saturday, because that's not always what he wants to do on a Saturday. And I don't blame him one bit. So we need to work out that dynamic with our family a little bit more so that I can get a bit more inventory and hopefully, you know, better inventory, learning the best places to go. I'm starting to really know which sales are good and which sales are, you know, pretty much a miss most of the time in my area now that I'm 2 or 3 years into this. Another thing that goes with that, which it kind of goes without saying, I didn't increase my input substantially. I have tried to work harder and I try to fit it in more, but I am still doing the full-time stay-at-home mom job that I was doing last year, plus the toddler on top of that. That has not diminished for me at all. Like I said, none of the boys are, you know, off into the school system and stuff yet. There's no periods of the day where I don't have them with me. So you kind of grab and go whenever you can. I did a day in the life vlog not too long ago. I'll link that below as well. And it just kind of shows that it is definitely, stop-start doesn't even begin to describe it. So I haven't really settled down on like a schedule or a routine yet that's going to go ahead and allow me to like increase productivity to the point where my business would really start to flourish and grow. And that's something I need to look into as well. You know, how am I going to carve out time? Because I say I'll do it in the evenings, but then the evenings come and I'll do 1 or 2 listings on top of the maybe like 3, 4, 5 I'll do during the day. And I want to sit down and I want to hang out with my husband and I want to go to bed or take a bath or whatever, or watch some junk on TV. You know, you have, burnout is such a real thing. You have to turn it off at some point. And I'm not good at doing that, but that there's a balance there that needs to take place. But obviously it has tipped further towards the personal life and less towards the business side because, you know, my numbers show it, right? I haven't grown. Number 3. So we've talked about the sourcing. We've talked about the personal like input, the time that I take to like put into my business. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is I haven't changed or developed my business model at all. Upon reflection, that's not good. So I have, in terms of, I really focus on clothing now. Like if I go into a rummage sale, it would have been a while ago, or a thrift store, anywhere, that I would have headed straight towards like sewing items or mugs or games, like vintage toys, that kind of thing. Well, now I head straight towards like clothes and shoes. That is where I make a beeline for. So in terms of that, I have changed my business model. Like I said, it's easier to store in our cozy little house, and it's also easier for me to ship. It's way more time effective and like cost effective. I don't have to store lots of boxes and things like that. Poly mailers is where it's at. So I definitely have increased some efficiency there. However, I still am within the business model of buy cheap, sell cheap. That is simply because where I am able to source within the time parameters that I'm able to source in, i.e. those Saturday mornings, those rummage sales, those yard sales, all that kind of stuff, it's more about getting as much as you can for as little as you can. At least that's my model right now, and I'm going to stick with it. And here's why. We are still using my income primarily to pay off our debt. We are thrilled to say we are on our final debt. We have 1 debt left, and then we are debt free aside from our house. This has been years in the making. And until that has happened, I'm going to just keep plowing with what I know. That might seem really short-sighted. However, I know where I can source, I know when I can source, I know what it's going to cost me, and I can do it, like I said, on a large scale for a one-woman show. So as of right now, my business model is going to stay the same. If it's going to sell for $10 or more and I can get it for $1 or less, I'm going to say $15 or more is always my goal. There you go. It's going to be $1 or less. I'm always going to try and grab it, because when I'm grabbing those things, I inevitably also grab items that I buy for $1 and sell for like 50, 60 and up. So again, there's like a balance that kind of happens there. But yeah, I'm going to stick with it for now. However, when that debt is gone and we're starting to focus on really just using my income for our savings, our retirement, our kids' savings, vacations, all these different things, that might be a really good time, as well as the kids starting to enter school, for me to take a good hard look at like how I'm doing stuff and why I'm doing it that way, and maybe start to really adjust. So who knows what 2019 will hold in terms of that. Okay, and the final point that I was going to cover is, I had mentioned this earlier, and I think this is directly related to Etsy, but I have moved almost entirely away from hard goods and into clothing. And with that, like I said, there is a removal of stress from me in terms of storage space, in terms of having to package. I cannot tell you how many nights I stayed up late trying to pack like little vintage trinkets that sold for I don't know what, but were so incredibly fragile, and needing to store all the boxes. Like it was an extremely intense thing for me in our slightly smaller family space to keep on top of that many hard goods. So it has been worth it to me to move away from them and to go to primarily clothing. However, that market, as you will hear many resellers say, is very, very saturated. It just is, especially when you're selling like, you know, middle of the road mall brands like Ann Taylor Loft or American Eagle. You know, they're not things that I aim to go out and get, but they're certainly things that I do pick up if the price is extremely low, and then I'll just wait until mine gets picked, essentially, which sounds like a terrible business model, but like I said, low cost is my #1 goal, and getting every penny I can towards debt to finish this thing off is absolutely my primary motivator. So that being said, I am sure on Etsy, the fact that I moved to almost entirely vintage clothing and stopped putting in new eyeglasses, new board games, new vintage toys, new books, all that kind of stuff, I'm sure that has something to do with why Etsy isn't working out for me right now. However, it also has kind of helped me, because Poshmark is all clothing and accessories. So I don't know, you win some, you lose some, but you know, it's fair to say that is probably why my sales haven't necessarily lifted off, and I'm going to have to increase that quantity and that productivity if I want to see some increase in my numbers in a market that is so oversaturated, I suppose, like used clothing on eBay and Poshmark. Okay guys, so I really hope that this video has been helpful or interesting, or, you know, just whatever. I wanted to come in here and show you, because, you know, my channel is all about wanting to show you my journey here in reselling, trying to be real with you guys, that, you know, I don't sit behind a computer screen all day just like listing, or go out to thrift stores every day and try and do it. I very much have other things pulling me in different directions, but even so, it can be done. It's nothing to scoff at, working 1 or 2 hours a day while still being home to like raise the babies and stuff, to be able to gross 34 grand in a year. I'm extremely proud of that. I'm proud of my family. Like, this is a thing that in many ways we all do together. Like, everybody participates, because this is the thing that mom does in her spare time, like all the time. And like I said, they come sourcing, they help ship, everybody cheers me on. I'm really proud of what I've achieved so far. However, I want to achieve more, and I want to grow in 2019. So if this video has been interesting to you and you think you might want to learn a little bit more about reselling, or you have some tips or tricks or comments to share, please do go ahead and leave them below. I would love it if you would like this video, and let me know if this is the kind of content that you enjoy, and please do subscribe as well. I would love to have you back if you're new, and if you've been here before, it was so good to see you. I hope you all have an amazing holiday season. Merry Christmas, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.